Hey everybody, this is Jason Byrne here, broadcasting from the Longwood Historic Society. We're about to hear a presentation about the proposed redevelopment of the Longwood Historic District. Hopefully everybody can tune in at home and kind of get their curiosity quenched. People are just starting to fill into the room. You can see it's starting to fill up. We're trying to social distance as we go. But if you're tuning in back at home, I'll be happy to try to relay the questions if there's a question and answer session. I'm not sure of the exact format. I'm getting all the info I can that I can share it with you guys later. And hopefully we'll just spread the awareness of what's going on and people can form their opinion with all the information. Hey all, once again, if you're just joining us, we're ready to kick off this meeting here any minute now. Folks are starting to pile in. We're trying to stay social distance as we do. Got my mask on the ready. But this is a public information mainly for people who live and work immediately in the district, and the developer and the architect will be sharing some information about the plans. My goal here is just to spread information so that everybody can make an informed decision of exactly what's going on and how you feel about it. If there's a Q&A opportunity and you relay your questions in the chat, I will try my best to ask them. So just wait in a few minutes until they kick it off. I expect to get started here momentarily. Thanks everybody for tuning in. And feel free to share this with your other neighbors and local groups, because this is very important information. Potentially will forever change the face of the historic district, whether you feel that's positive or negative. That's for you to determine. But this will impact everybody who lives in the area, so definitely should be informed. And if you've never been here before, welcome to the headquarters of the Longwood Historic Society. This is the Historic Civic Center. Newly remodeled. We got brand new floors. We're really proud of it. So we'd love to see you in here sometime, maybe for a Historic Society meeting. While we're waiting, this is some wood from the Senator that we have here in our collection here. We have an old bell from the Longwood old schoolhouse that was built in the 1880s that still exists. And this is an old stove that was part of the inside-outside house, which is now Cottage Gifts. So anyway, nice little collection here. Again, waiting for everybody to file in and us to get started, but thanks for joining us.
Go! That's a coach. Yeah. Or you'll bring. Yeah. He looks good. Looks good. That's fine. Never going to be seen. Let's see.
Well, while we're waiting, I might as well show you some of the information that they shared with us here. I haven't looked through this myself, so I'm just going to kind of flip through it for those of you who can't make it. And again, expecting to get started here in the next, hopefully, 5 minutes. So this is the packet of information. I will do my best to share this as soon as I can. So you guys are familiar with it, this is the general plan. So we are currently right here on Church Street. This is the Longwood Hotel. Back here is where City Hall currently is. Over here is Ryder Park, and there's an office complex over here. So the general extent of the plans, as I understand them, is they will tear down and replace the City Hall building, which was built in the 1960s, with an assisted living facility. Over here is the fire station, which will become a restaurant, food hall. Over here is where the new City Hall would be, where these office complexes are now. In the back of this office complex is a little lake wooded and a little kind of pond area, which they hope to extend Ryder Park to include this part and kind of tie in the city buildings with Ryder Park. And probably the most controversial part of this entire plan that most of you guys will maybe have questions about is the apartment complex, which will go here, which is where the police station currently sits. So the Episcopal Church is here, for you guys to know the area. The parking lot's here. The Longwood Community Building is this purple building here. And this is the new apartment complex. I believe it's going to be 4 stories. We'll find out the details shortly. So that is what a lot of people are concerned about, and in what that will do for traffic in the area. They do say that the buildings will be themed to match the district. So they won't necessarily look out of place because, well, I mean, they'll be look out of place by scale, but at least the style will match the district. But it will be a lot of people living within the district. And then, so there's a lot of people who have concerns about the traffic and the parking and whatnot. So hopefully we'll get a lot more information about that. Yeah, Clock Tower Park's over here, just so you have a little more bearing. Yeah, hopefully that gives you enough. The Bradley Mac is here. And then 434 is a little bit further down here. All right, let's keep flipping through. We're still waiting for them to get started. Okay, what is this here showing? This is the new fire station. Oh, the fire station would move elsewhere since they're going to take the fire station as well. So that would move over to 434. Not sure exactly where that is, but you can see that there. This is the community building, which nothing would really change about the Longwood community building. This is the office complex that is on Warren, which would be the new City Hall building. And you can see back here is that part I was talking about with the wooded area with the lake that they hope to incorporate as part of Ryder Park, and the front part would be the new City Hall. I am not sure what this is. Okay, this is the current City Hall, which would be torn down and replaced with an assisted living facility. You can see the rendition here of what they proposed that would look like, senior living facility. Looks like another view of the layout of the assisted living facility. See if I can get to the apartments here. So this is another look at what the proposed assisted living facility would look like. So you can see how they're trying to get the designs to match the historic look at the district. It would apparently be 3 stories, 4 stories, 3. Here's the fire station, which again they plan to turn into a food hall restaurant area. So you can see kind of some renditions of that. And here is probably, again, the most controversial part of the plan, which is where the police station is today. The multifamily retail office building they plan to construct there. So number of units, you see 250 units that they're proposing to put in, which I know a lot of people feel strongly that that might not be the right attitude, right thing to do. But other people feel like it's a great thing, and it will bring a lot of revival to the district and a lot of business, a lot of life to a kind of a sleepy district. Let's see. another rendition, I think, of the, I'm not sure what this is. Police department, I'm not sure what angle this is supposed to be. They're proposing also, I didn't mention, and this is the Longwood Inn, the Longwood Hotel, which is the big building right on Ronald Reagan. This is where the farmers market used to be hosted. They are proposing to put a retail spot there, which there used to be a retail place, a little grocery store back maybe 2 decades ago was there. They're proposing to add that back, but what they're proposing is a coffee retailer, which I know Zanzibar Coffee isn't thrilled about. Have Zanzibar just across the street from there. So here's another look at the proposed coffee retailer. They're proposing Foxtail would take up that little parking lot where right in front of the hotel where the farmers market used to be before they moved it to Ryder Park. So they're proposing that to be a Foxtail Coffee, which I'm kind of blocked it. Okay, we're getting started now.
Okie dokie. Can everybody hear me okay? So the rules kind of are that this is our community plan here. There's no one in here. We've asked that the architect be available. Kim McCann, who's been before the city, we've asked that she come in. She hasn't confirmed, so it may not happen. But she is here to kind of field. We're going to have a question and answer session, but rather than just absolutely just inundate us with everything you got on your mind, the goal is to try to get everybody in the right frame of mind. And this is not sponsored. I don't have anything to do. I'm Frank Ramseur, and I own the property called Millwee House at 172 West Warren. My wife Diane is in the back. She's the better, good-looking one on our family. And she's a school teacher that used to teach out here at Longwood Elementary and Woodlands Elementary. So she's got all the education experience, and she can also push in. And she's got way more going for her than I do, but I just wanted to introduce her. The good news is we've got a great representation. Did anybody get a count on roughly how many we got here? Because everybody said it'd be 15 or less. 1. 2. So what we're going to do at 6:25, if everything works with the technology, Tom, who is our video expert here, is going to show us a 5-minute. How many people? I know Judy, some of the older ones have seen. There's a guy named Bradshaw, Terry Bradshaw. Y'all are familiar pretty much with Terry. Well, way back a couple of generations ago, like 2011. Okay, 2011 or 12, there was a video made. How many have seen the Bradshaw meeting on the little community of Longwood, Florida, that's in YouTube? You'll be able to see it. How many have actually seen it? Okay, that's good, because I hadn't even really seen it until a few days ago. I haven't run across it. That's the small town world that we're really been, but then we've been and we've been in the small town. We continue to be in the small town. So I've been here 17 years. Judy's been here longer than me. I'm not going to go into all the details, but she's had her little Judy's dolls over there probably since 22 years. How many, a show of hands, who lives in Longwood less than 3 years?
No.
5 years?
More.
How many people have been in Longwood 7 years in this little community?
More.
We're all 20, about 20.
40. Okay.
35.
40, yeah.
35 years.
Yeah, there you go.
Y'all aren't that old.
22. 37.
Okay. 37. That's going to be, okay, that's the win. So what we're going to do in about 5 or 7 minutes, hopefully, and if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen with the architect. She's got a package. I've got 25 copies that they let me borrow that show pretty much what's been presented with the city. You know, just so y'all will know, if you don't know, this developer was invited, and he's been kind of pressed to come in and do what he could do for us. This is not I came out of the development business, and the business that I was in, if I could hold them long enough to get them filled, I sold them. But that's not what we're dealing with. This is a good.
Make any money?
No, I never could make much money, so I just had to sell them. But anyway, what I'm saying to y'all is this is an invited developer, world class. And I mean it, it's world class. If you want to do some research, we'll get you the information. They've been in business 50 years. They're based out of Germany, Boston, Taurus Investment. I didn't know much about them, but I found out when I got to the, over to Apopka and got familiar. How many have been to the place in Apopka that's out there right now where the old Townsend's plantation was? Or they call it the Captain and the Cowboy. Do y'all know what I'm talking about in Apopka? How many know where that space is? Okay, that is done by the city of Apopka, brought them in, and they're in the process of master developing that. It's been going on since the recession. They've got whether you like it or not, there's a 4 or 5 story Hilton Garden Inn adjacent to the old mansion or the old plantation piece, and they're going to be doing multiple events. So based on that, when they were invited here, they looked at the community building that we had, and they looked at this building as a little lead-in building, and they said that with the little chapel, with what we've got in this community, the ability to expand the events and make things happen in the community building would triple from what we're doing now. So there'll be, you know, how many people have been into at least a wedding, memorial, funeral service, whatever, at our big community building? See, really, in all honesty, it should be all of us. But that's the kind of the goal, along with how many would prefer that that the city of Longwood stay right where it is now on the corner. Just be honest, 1, 2. I don't, you know, it's across the street from me. It's a 1960s block house, 2,400 square feet. They want to go, and there's an option for them to go into the 451 building. That's the next property after the park on West Warren Avenue. So, hi there, come on in. This is the lady that was awarded the key to the city of Longwood. How many people know Cheryl Bryant? Wild hair. Get your mask on, lady.
Oh, sorry.
So, what we're going to do is just are you ready to do it? Yeah. All right, I don't think there's, and this doesn't matter who else has seen it. You may or may not like this. This is what we've been. It's great. Now, I'm not going to knock this at all because I actually love this, but we're the last place in Seminole County to get a chance to have some growth that would make us feel like we're part of a community. Okay? Now, when you see this, you're going to go, gosh, this is wonderful. I think you're going to say, yeah, let's just stay just like this. But that's kind of like Disneyland. We're in Central Florida. There's 950 people moving into this greater area. Let's do it the right way. Let's make it where we have input and we're part of it. And does that sound like I'm a salesman or anything? That's not the intent. That is not the intent.
It's good to have passion. It's good to have passion.
I'm going to show this video. It's only about 5 minutes long. Some of you may have seen it, but it kind of sets the tone for what we're doing. A couple of housekeeping things here. If you need to use the restroom, it's right there. It is a unisex bathroom. If you go in, please lock the door so nobody comes in on you. There is water in the buckets here. If you need get some water, it's huge. So that's it. I'm going to show this video. I attempt to here anyway. Somebody could. Just the first 2. The audio is not the best on this videotape, so just bear. I think you can hear it.
The nation's strength comes from its sense of community and together to create a people.
There we go.
The essence of this is found in the proud to call it home. Located just north of Orlando, the city of Longwood is one of Central Florida's most historic cities. Established in 1878, you'll recognize it by its nostalgic charm, its community pride, and its innovative spirit. City leaders call Longwood a small town with big ambition. The city of Longwood has a population of about 14,000. We have an elite healthcare system. We have low property taxes. We have an A-rated school system. We have a very diverse business community. Because of that, Longwood is an excellent place to live, work, and play. Its innovative way of thinking was exemplified when the Longwood Elementary School was closed by the school board. The city saw an opportunity to lease the school and created a community recreation center. The Longwood Recreational Facility is an example of something negative that is very positive. It now is home to our Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts meetings, as well as our senior Meals on Wheels programs. We also offer classes in art, in dance, in karate, and it's a vibrant hub to our city, very active every week. From preserving the city's rich history to planning for its future, community involvement is a key component to Longwood's long-term success. The Downtown Historic District is the heart and soul of the city. The inside-outside house, built in 1872, Christ Episcopal Church, built in 1879, and the Bradley McIntyre House, built in 1885, are among its treasures. The Longwood Village Inn opened in 1882, a couple of years after the first railroad line from Sanford to Orlando was laid. I'm proud to be involved in the charitable aspects of our community. For example, the Christian Charity Center is an organization that provides housing, food, and transportation to the families in our community that need them. The city's commitment to sustainability is evidenced by its green initiatives and its economic development efforts. Longwood's Green Building Program is our effort to maximize water and energy conservation while providing leadership to the private sector development. We've also moved toward providing financial incentives for energy efficiency projects and moved toward taking more advantage of the state's private program. From improving its existing programs to establishing new ones, the city is committed to economic development and quality of life. We make every effort to enhance the quality of life to our residents, and we continue to offer many programs and activities for our community to join. Now that some rail has been approved, it provides a great opportunity for economic revitalization. This is of critical importance to our community, and we are committed to its success. When complete, the commuter passenger rail system will provide 61 miles of service from DeLand to Point Siena. Longwood Station will be located on Church Avenue, almost exactly where the original rail station stood. Church Avenue is filled with old tradition, like brick streets and old-fashioned light posts, which will now become part of a new era while keeping its historic flavor. Located in Longwood's Historic District and serves as a link to the Sunrail Station, Ryder Park, and employment centers. Church Avenue will draw people to Ryder Park, which will become a destination for activities and entertainment. Families enjoy a full range of activities at Candyland Park. Candyland Park features a multi-purpose field, playgrounds, pavilions, and even a skate park. It is also home to Longwood Babe Ruth Baseball. Candyland Park is our jewel of parks within our city. It's proud home of our Babe Ruth softball and baseball teams. There, our children exhibit good sportsmanlike conduct and become productive citizens within our community by learning life lessons on the fields. We also host many district competitions there. We are proud to boast that our Babe Ruth teams have won at the district and state level. With Longwood's central location, it's a short drive to Florida's East Coast beaches and all of the amenities that Orlando has to offer. Whether they come for a day or they plan to stay, visitors are discovering why Longwood is one of America's hidden gems to live, to work, and to play.
Good job, sir. Turn the lights on.
So no one had actually seen this before. It's, I know there's a few of us. And basically that was about, I want to say 9 years ago, maybe off a little bit. But it may be it may be 7 or 8 years ago. And it's a great situation, but we haven't been able to get anything going on in the historical district. So we have our chance, and it's we're either going to go for it or we're going to stay basically the little small town. So how many, just being honest, how many would want us to stay exactly just like you saw that? Okay, got 1, 2.
I'm okay with it.
Okay, so you're okay. We got 4 or 5. How many would like to enter? How would like to see us move forward with relocating City Hall, the fire station? I mean, the police station. The fire station has a site down there, and then transition from the front back into the new places that the city had vacated on a redevelopment.
Why is that the only option?
Because, we'll go into detail, but the city is giving up their property that has no tax base. It has no value from a standpoint of the actual property. It's not even in the tax rolls.
So that's already been decided?
Excuse me?
That's already been decided? They're giving up that property to this development?
No, ma'am, that's not really what's going on, but what's going to happen is that would take that one piece, the City Hall. Let's just use City Hall. The City Hall, which is now taxed at 0. The building value is probably 170, 80, maybe 300,000. That would be replaced by a structure that would have a tax value in the next 3 or 4 or 5 years of $17 or $18 million. The police station, which has no tax value, 0, it's an old building, would be relocated into a new office redo right at the end of the park. You'd have the police station right adjacent to the park, and then that property would be developed into over a mixed-use 100-car parking garage and a 3-story. Ma'am,
We're not interested.
wait just a second.
That's
So,
We live here. We
well,
live right there.
see, what I was going to do, how many's got the agenda? How many didn't get a copy of the agenda? What we're going to do is, I'm not the one that's going to be able to help y'all on this. I'm just trying to help you understand what the objective is. And this is something the city's been working on for 9 months.
Well, we've been in COVID, so we haven't had an opportunity to be really concerned about this.
Tammy, I understand that, and this is what we're going to try to do if we can. If we're able to work together, then what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to break our little elements up. Like Tammy lives right adjacent to the backyard of the property that has a 3-story townhouse planned to own it. You just among us here, you can permit a 3-story townhouse anywhere in Seminole County adjacent to a single-family community. If you don't believe me, we'll get the planner and all to let you know. So that's not anything excessive. But anyway, here's the way the deal goes. We're going to bring in an architect who the developer has already, and I didn't know he was going to do this. He is set up, but he would like to have, if we can break into several little groups. In other words, is there anybody in here that is worried about the redevelopment of the frontage here, right on Ronald Reagan, right in front of Lenny's? Is Lenny here yet? Lenny Leyland? Lenny. This is the owner right here of the old hotel, Longwood Village Hotel. And Lenny is very interested in how the front door to his community. In fact, I might say, and maybe I'm stretching it, I think Lenny is probably more interested in his position than even I or you, anybody here. Lenny, I mean, you had it how long now, sir?
15 years.
He's had the building 15 years, and he is very interested in how and what goes in front of his property. So he has volunteered, and we've got a couple other people to work with the architect that will actually help design and landscape that front particular property, whatever goes there. Now, is that fair? Okay. Go ahead. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I just want to go back to the 17 or $18 million tax base you were referring to. Where do you get that number from? Where does that come from?
We're going to give you, these numbers are all, I'm not a real good numbers guy, but this project, when it's all done.
Pardon me for asking this, but then why are you talking about this if you aren't the person with the facts? No facts, I mean.
Well, here's why.
There's so much information going around, we don't know what's true and what's not.
Did you get a little packet? You got it, okay. I'd like to pass out, there's about 25, I don't have one for everybody. This is the current status that the city has basically accepted for the mixed-use project that's going to be basically developed.
Are you saying they accepted it?
No,
Absolutely not.
Okay,
I'm
quick.
sorry because you used the word.
Excuse me.
You have not accepted.
All right.
Has not been accepted.
Here's one of the things that, I'm a little southern guy, and I have a tendency to overstate things. So y'all help me just a little bit. Because I have nothing to do but for the benefit of my property and for this community. I'm not a party to this deal. So, to try to answer your question, we can get those answers for you. Hey folks, glad that we can get you, there's a couple here up front.
Well, sir, my concern is the fact that there's a lot of information out there, and we, quite honestly, didn't know this was happening, and now we don't know what's true and what isn't true. And so we're all here tonight to try to get the facts, and not all of what it could be or couldn't be.
Thank you very much. Judy, I'm going to let you say a couple of things here in just a few minutes, if you would, because I'm not trying to put anybody on the spot. We're in this thing together. So what I don't know, we will basically come up with the questions, and we will then poise those questions and ask those and get answers for it. Listen, I love this community as much as anybody here. I mean, Judy's probably a little ahead of me. I know Mr. Roy's got a beautiful place here. Brian Roy, where are you, sir?
Can I just, you're starting in the middle of something that we are coming into very late. So I think I need to understand what your position is with this project.
My position is I own 172 West Warren Avenue.
We own property too.
Excuse me?
I said we own property too.
I know. So that's why we're here.
Have you been in it from the beginning?
No, ma'am, I have not.
When did you become involved?
I found out about the planned assisted living. I've been in the real estate business, and I know assisted living. My mother spent 11 years in one. And so when that came out, I started getting real interested in how this whole thing was going to come together. That would have been, I don't know, less than a month and a half, as far as the plan for that. I had in my vision
So a
that
month ago you became involved.
I became understanding of the particular property that's going to be next door to me.
Okay.
That's all. So all I'm saying is we're stakeholders. We're all stakeholders
We are
here.
all stakeholders.
And I'm not, believe me, I'm one vote when my wife has a lot next door to me. I mean, that's it. But I'm interested in the community. So all I'm saying is I just want y'all to understand the reason we did this. I'm the one that wrote the check to bring the place here to try to talk to you guys. I brought all of you a little water. There's a water in there. I'm going to be needing one myself pretty quick. So all I'm trying to say is we're in this together. And the developer, this developer, he didn't come in here begging for this work. This developer was brought in, he did, and he was selected to come in here. So this is not a typical type deal. You understand that this is not like, let's go do some development
So
work.
what's the rush? What's the rush? You guys are so in a rush to get this done. And this other place hasn't been looking.
Let me tell you, you're talking 2023, 24. I don't see much of a rush here. Hey, is anybody in here older than me? Okay, so I'm gonna tell you, don't talk about rush, because I don't have I'm 75, so if I can get here, if I can stand out 5 years and be strong, I'm in.
Excuse me,
Yeah, why isn't somebody from the city and the developer here presenting this?
Well, the developer is standing by to answer questions. He said that he could spend a few minutes at the end of the meeting. It's not just me. I also have some fellows that are stakeholders that I wanted to ask to have a little bit of conversation on why they believe this is going forward. But before we even go to that, I would like to at least find out, is there anybody in here that doesn't really want any development in Longwood in the historical district? Just be brave. Raise your hand.
I'm not saying that
This development. I think they want development, they don't want this development.
Exactly, thank you.
It'd also be nice not to have like machine noise behind my house for another 2 or 3 years. I would have bought that house if I knew the park was getting developed. My house is quiet for a year, and then for 2 years, 6 in the morning. Yes, sir. Man, I almost
Okay, so
firebomb.
let's go ahead. Diana, do you mind on the ones that don't want any, just so we can break this out here, because I would like to have those people work. Is there any part of this that you don't like more than the rest of it? Do you care about the ALF?
Assisted living facility in the apartments.
Yeah, we are.
And the bar by the park.
And the bar by the park.
That's ridiculous.
My question is, why do we have to be a destination? Why can't we be a great community to live? Why can't it be for the residents instead of
Okay.
trying to attract people to come visit?
Those
Why
are
can't
questions.
it be wonderful for us?
Those
to
are
live
questions,
there?
there's a way, I can't answer those questions. I mean,
Exactly.
Is there anybody that can answer those questions? Because if you can, help me a little bit and come up here.
We got your back, Frank.
I just have a question. You know, I've gone to city meetings before, and I've heard,
Can we
I've
get,
gone to city meetings before, okay? And I've heard that they want to make the city of Longwood for people to walk in, a place to go. Why can't some of this, especially where the police station is, just make it a park? It's got zero value, right, you know, according to you, the tax value. Just make it a park. Let people go there as a destination.
we got a $3.5 million park. We got a $3.5 million park that everybody was supporting, and
And there's
the
still
park
not
got.
enough room there for the arts
Yeah, and
festival,
the
for the
platform.
cars. You guys close down roads when you have a.
Hey, guys, hey,
We're not mad at you, man.
hey, listen,
I'm gonna help out Frank here.
all right.
So, my name's Carl Zermatt. I don't need that.
Yeah.
So, I invited a bunch of neighbors here. I live on West Magnolia Avenue. So, my wife Michelle and I have been living here Michelle's been here for 25 plus years. We got to know Greg and Tammy. Tammy teaches at Longwood Elementary. We have 7 houses from the corner, Mark and Vida, are you here? There you are. That start at the corner and come all the way up to, just behind here. All right. So when the 4 of us, my wife and I, Tammy and Greg, went to the meeting last week, and then Frank came over and was like, hey, you guys want to get together? He scratched the check to rent here. He's not the enemy, but he has a vested interest.
Yeah.
He does, right? He would like to see his property value go up and something happen to the community. All right? Is that about so far so good?
Carl, you're right on it.
All right. So, cool video with Terry Bradshaw. Pittsburgh quarterback, very famous. I didn't know this happened. And, they advertise this video like they advertise everything else in Longwood. They don't. It's like food truck night. We have social media now. Facebook, Instagram. If you go onto the 32750, 32779, our neighborhood, our garage sale, stuff like that, this is where a lot of this information is coming from, right? Has anybody followed the social media posts, contributed to it? Okay, we know we're talking about that in a second. But, we have 14, what is the population of Longwood exactly? 14, 15,000 people?
15,700 out there.
Thanks. Okay, so when January started and our city invited this group, did anybody hear about this? No. Okay, so I think that's the first problem. But again, we have our commissioners, we have our city people that are interested in our community. And remember, historical Longwood is just not Longwood. Longwood goes from, Sweetwater, all the way to 1792. You know, when Albertsons closed down, everybody's like, oh no, what's gonna go there? And then LA Fitness went in and people are like, oh no, not LA Fitness. You know, we have the good and the bad, all right? I like some of the ideas, I really do. But, like the rest of us, nobody wants an extra 1,000 cars coming into our community. Greg and I drive for a living, you know. He has to wake up earlier or drive sooner, later, faster to come and go just because, you know, we have how many extra apartments at the end by Winn-Dixie and Dr. Doobie's medical practice? 300, 400, 500 people. That's going to be a disaster. You know, I don't remember, you know, them asking me about it, but again, do they have to? Maybe not. You know, they're the elected officials that we voted for or got voted for. All right? So.
Here comes Matt.
We are all.
This is the public hearings, you just didn't go to them.
I know,
Okay?
exactly.
How many
exactly.
city meetings have you been to?
Exactly. Again,
If you don't know, it's
we're
because
not
you
here to
didn't find
crucify
out.
me or anybody.
You
We
don't
all
know,
have
like everybody's trying to
passion.
pull the wool over your eyes, it's because you
great.
don't pay attention.
Sure. It's great that we all have passion, right? Yes. So the reason we all got together here today is to try to just come together to see what the thought process is.
Correct.
Right? So if everybody here puts up their hand and says, I don't want it, that's okay. You're good with that. If you would like some change, that's okay too. Frank's trying to get everybody together and say, let's just see what the thought process is, and then let's kind of take that and extrapolate to what we can do or we can't do, because it's going to come down to us talking to our commissioners or the people that are going to vote this in or vote it out. And that's what it is, you know? We're all here because we have passion, right? That's right. Exactly. But, you know, the good, the bad, and the ugly about development is it's either going to happen or it's not going to happen. Longwood's going to grow or it's not going to grow. You're going to participate in the community or you're not going to participate in the community. It's going to come down to, you know, writing your officials, emailing them, calling them, tell them, I like it or I don't like it. And if you don't like it and they voted in, then they're not going to get voted in the next time they're up for election.
I think the problem that most of us are feeling is there is development and there is overdevelopment.
Sure.
This particular project is overdeveloping an area
Correct.
that we moved here for,
Yep.
not to be developed.
Exactly.
It's called Historic District for a reason. And we want it to continue to be the historic district with growth,
Sure.
with revenue, with taxes, but we don't need a lot of the things that are in this plan.
Right.
So the problem that I think we're having, and I would like to speak for some of us, is that this plan is not what we want.
No.
And we
again,
have a lot of support from a lot of people seeing that this is becoming
Sure.
overdeveloped. This is becoming a Maitland. This is becoming a Winter Park. This is becoming things that are not what we like historic Longwood to be.
correct.
That's the
Exactly. Exactly. Go ahead.
I think the other thing, and you hit on it as well, is there are rules. There are sunshine rules. There are public notice rules
Sure.
that have to be followed. And if you live with adjacent to these properties and things are happening, things are supposed to be mailed to you
Sure.
about this.
Right.
And one of the ladies who isn't here addressed that to me. And yes, and I mean, I think that's the biggest thing is we're all feeling a little blindsided.
I'm an elected official and I just found out about this today.
But I'm talking about the whole thing.
Well, and
So just so we're clear, let me take over for 2 seconds, if you don't mind. Listen, here's the way this works. This is not a city-related event. This is something that some of the local business owners here in the Historic District wanted to come speak about with the Historic Society. Many people don't know this. The Historic Society's one of their main tasks, is not me, is to upkeep these 3 historic buildings we have in our city, the Bradley Mack, the Inside Outside House, and this Civic Center right here as well, and also preserve our city's history for our next generation. That costs money, and it's the Historic Society that upkeeps it. It's not the city of Longwood. I'm part of our Historic Society, that's why I'm here. I'm not here with my commissioner's hat on right now. But again, I myself just found out about this.
But I mean, this
So
is
what you're asking about and saying other people in the neighborhoods adjacent should be hearing about these types of things, that's called a CAP meeting. Case in point, when Publix was decided on, my neighborhood that's adjacent to it, for instance, went to that CAP meeting to talk. Either they're for it or they're against it, right? That's what a CAP meeting generally is. This most certainly not what this is. This is a hybrid. This is something new that I've not seen since
No,
I've
so
been
I'm not
here.
talking about today, I'm talking about what started back in January. And this is, at the commission meeting the other day, he started out saying we were tasked by city staff to start working on this in January. Okay, so this
To build a new fire, so here's what happens. There was a new fire department, a new police department, a new city hall, without raising people's taxes, without any hidden fees, without, look under your garbage can and there's a hidden fee there 3 years from now. None of that stuff. Right? We all love that.
Yeah.
But a new fire department costs $4.5 million. Police station, so on and so forth. And we wanted to update it with the bigger departments we now have. We're now getting the best of the best. Since we get these cops in fire department, the first rate they've had in 12 freaking years, we're getting studs out of the academy now. We're getting the best of the best. And to keep them, let me finish, to keep them, we've got to make sure that we're getting the proper equipment that they need and the proper housing for them. A fire department with a ladder truck, for instance, with a garage with the ladder truck that can actually fit in it, not what we currently have, and things of that nature, that's important. But, my main thing, and I think it's a lot of people, every resident here, is how do we make this historic district self-sustainable? So that when my 6-year-old grows up here one day with his family, God willing, that Bradley Mack house is still going to be there. There's not going to be 5 commissioners that come into town one day that don't even live in the city but moved there maybe for a few years. They don't even know what the Bradley Mack is. They don't know the history of where it came from, how we got it from Altamont in the back of a truck and brought it here thanks to our historic society. All right? Same with the inside-outside house. And all the cool things that make our city different.
Now, my concern was just the fact, the reason we're also passionate is we feel like we're coming in on the very end of it and had no say in it.
Because you literally know you're not behind. You literally were told, as we were, as commissioners, for what it's worth, what the plan was in place or what the pitch was in place to get us a new fire department, a new police department, a new city hall, to do so. Again, I'm not here with my commissioner's hat on, but I'm adamantly against this.
But I think that the question she's posing is that you got a chance to have a gap meeting. Why didn't we have a gap?
No, we did not have a CAP. It's called a CAP, CAP. And no, we did not have it.
When Publix was being built, your neighborhood wasn't notified?
Yes, we were.
Why weren't we notified?
Because it's not been built. It's not been approved yet.
So you were only notified once the decision was made?
Yes, when the land, we own these properties in the city of Longwood, police, fire department, and city hall. Usually when properties get built, like the Alta apartments that you guys were talking about earlier, sir, in the back, we don't own that property. That was a private landowner that had the right to sell it to who they wanted to sell it to, as long as it fit within the code and the zoning, right? City of Longwood can't step in all of a sudden and say, nope, you can't go to that apartment building, sorry. That's illegal. But because we do own these lands and these pieces of property, we do have a say finally in this, all right? So my own personal opinion is, great for a new fire department, great for a police department, great for city hall. I think everyone in the city would be on board with that.
Right. Yep.
I don't think everybody here in the city is for
350
fitting
units.
20 pounds of bleep in a 5-pound bag, 'cause that's what this feels like.
Yeah.
With the apartments, we don't have the infrastructure in place, is my concern. And I know we don't have the infrastructure here for an assisted living facility here on this part of Warren Ave as well. That's my personal opinion. I don't represent the other commissioners with that. That's me, myself, and I. That's it.
Yeah, and like I said, it's nice that we're all having passion. That's the point. And Frank, historically, has a developer mind. He likes to see growth. And some people don't like to see growth, like Tim. And again, it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing.
I love the way Winter Park did it, or not Winter Park, sorry, Winter Garden. Go to Winter Garden, don't talk to me about Apopka's townhouse, the Apopka.
Yeah.
That place is not apples and apples, that is apples and oranges to what's happening.
So-
Go to Winter Garden if you want to talk to me about what I want to see.
Sure.
So I think what we need to do, if we can't come to a kind of a working type situation, I think we just disband this, and I'll apologize.
You don't have to apologize.
Seriously.
No, not at all. Can I ask a question, Frank?
Yeah, no, you did great, Craig, you did a good job.
Matt, sir.
Can I ask a question?
I'm next.
Oh, I'm sorry.
She's standing
I'm not
here.
afraid to say something. I don't need that.
city does development, you were talking about you don't think that there's infrastructure for all of this?
I'm talking about the streets, church in Florida, Ave, in my opinion, again. it's
Right. Right. No, but my question is, what kind of due diligence does the city do to approve these kind of things? So you're telling me that they would just willy-nilly approve it without infrastructure?
No, they're still in the question period, to be
Right.
honest. City staff is still asking the developer thousands of questions.
So in order for those things to happen, what does the city do to determine whether,
Third-party studies,
okay, on traffic,
water,
sewer, and who makes those decisions in the end? Engineers?
as far as giving us the statistics and their opinions, yeah.
Is the
Would
developer
that
hired?
be, excuse me, sorry. So would that be city engineers or is it outside party? I'm just trying to understand the process.
Ours plus third-party general.
Okay,
You want somebody with no skin in the game, right?
gotcha. I just wanted to understand how that all works, how those decisions would be made. So would there be a way that someone could,
We're not even there.
right, no, I'm just hypothetically. Would there be a way that someone could rig it so that if the infrastructure was not there, that it would get approved?
I certainly hope not, good Lord.
Okay, that was it.
Question. I think a lot of us, I'm for the idea of the police department moving, the fire department moving in this town. A lot of us here live on Magnolia Avenue, especially the south side. If we've got a 4-story condo right behind us and a shopping center, that's literally over the fence. You throw a stone over the fence and you're gonna hit one of them. Is that what's gonna pay for sustaining the rest of this, or can the rest of it be done, does anyone know, or anything, without that whole thing?
There's no way, we're on number 97, and tonight we're on 4 or 5. So all these things have to work. You don't just go out here and build a 7-story building, a 4-story building. It doesn't happen. There's many things that take place that's way beyond what we.
So we have a say in it then. This Monday coming up, we have a say.
This money is all this, from what I understand, and I tell you right now, Matt can tell you, this was a conceptual approval of a concept that has this type of a mixed use that would be able to sustain the city's growth using the properties that the city has.
Do we have a say this Monday? Yes or no?
The save this money, from what I understand, and we'll have the developer in just another 15-20 minutes.
There will be public
hearing.
input.
Public hearing, anybody can get up and talk during public hearing.
We'll all be there, Judy.
So,
I came to this meeting, okay, I was at Monday night's meeting and I saw how upset the people on
It's
Main
passion.
were. And I don't blame you,
It's passion.
okay? So, the reason I came tonight to find out what would be acceptable, okay? And then that's maybe what needs to be presented to the developer. I agree, 5- and 6-story building, no way. But maybe a 3-story with the proper landscaping.
And you're okay with the bar?
Trees are not behind. In 20 years, we'll have a tree right to us.
That's what our community is. We already have a bar.
Water's gotta go somewhere. Where's that water gonna go?
Where is this gonna be posted at?
Facebook. Seminole County Florida History group on Facebook. I'll put it on the Longwood Historic Society site page as well.
I'm here from Longwood Road, so we back up to the park, we go around to the new apartments. Okay, so my first question is it definite, because I got a little confused, is City Hall and the police station definitely moving next to the tennis court? That's not definite yet. Okay.
Let me just say this real quick. If this concept plan is not sufficient for us, then everything's out the window, because if the numbers don't work, the City Hall will be here, police station will be here, fire station will be here. It's gonna be just like it is now. How many really want that? If you want it,
But Kristen
don't see in here is the roads, and I know you said that some of that comes later, but
Whenever
we're building.
you pull a permit
Yeah.
in any area, you have to do all of the engineering, all of the studies, all.
Environment, water,
In fact, in the back here, John Romer is back here. He is a developer. He's been in it all of his life. He develops public shopping centers. I'm not going to put him on this. I'm not going to call him up. He knows there's about 8,700 steps that he takes every time he starts to build a Publix.
And I don't disagree.
So-
I'm asking, like, the main streets here, though.
This is, here was our objective. We're not off track, and I apologize. Our objective was to try to break us into, if there's nothing here, we just, like Randy says, he doesn't want it, we stop, and then we all go home. I mean, that's it. This deal only works if you build the type of infrastructure and product that generates the cash to make the thing work. You're going to take, just so you'll hear, and this is simple math. Right out front, in front of Lenny's, right out in front of the property out here is a little 16 parking spaces. I love its landscape. It brings the city this much every year, zero. And in fact, it costs money to maintain it. The plan right now is to put a restaurant out there in the front. Now, Lenny has the property right in front of him. Do you think Lenny wants an ugly Taco Bell or whatever? Lenny? Come here and talk to me just a little bit. So,
But does he want another coffee shop?
My history was, this has been talked about, development needed in the city for 10, 15 years, the whole time I've been here. Cities like consultants in, etc. About a year ago, they put out a request for proposal. The primary goal was consolidating city offices and improving police and fire departments. So everyone thinks that makes sense. I submitted a proposal that they move it all into the Longwood Village Inn. Had the space, could fit all the city offices, possibly even police. My proposal only met one of the city's goals. Okay, this developer, their proposal met way more of the city goals. That's where it is. I still believe the city needs development, even if they don't use my building, which I still think is the best choice, but that's a done deal, apparently.
No, it's a done deal.
Well, it's not necessarily a done deal. I mean, because this developer deal is far from a done deal. This is just early planning. This is their proposal that is in preliminary approval stage. Frank put this deal together to get the community input.
No, I appreciate it, Frank, I really do. Here's my question, and then I will be done talking. I know you were sick of it. So when they go to vote on Tuesday, or Monday, whenever the meeting is.
Yes.
My concern is, I keep hearing, it's just a proposal, it's just a proposal. However, when this vote takes place, what are we voting on? What is the commissioners saying, okay, we're gonna do? Because once you make a deal with this developer, and I spoke to him, and I see his passion, I see his eagerness, which is not about livelihood, growth for my family, it's more livelihood, growth for his pocket. No disrespect, but I'm meaning it to get my point across. He does not want what we feel by this plan is what's best for our community.
Absolutely.
He feels what's best for his pocket, and I get it, I understand it, but I don't think what's in the best interest right now is this particular developer, because I don't think he sees what Historic Longwood is.
Well, they do, because they did the studies and
I know, nobody else started.
No one's gonna like everything, especially the people when it's in their back door.
And my problem is not my back door, and I think that's where you guys are misconstrued. My problem is not my back door. Yes, initially I was aggravated that I no longer had privacy. Sorry. I bought my house 25 years ago. It's paid off. I plan on living there forever. I apologize that is not as important as you all making money on your businesses that are here. But I'm telling you right now, I don't have a problem with development.
Okay.
I don't have a problem.
I think you'll have a chance at the city hearing.
My question though is, if we go with this developer, he is
My
not.
understanding, if I could have the floor a minute, to complete my time, is that everyone will have their chance to speak, and the city is only voting on whether they want to continue discussions with this.
Okay, so that's what they're, that is, that's the
And it's
question.
still far from engineered, far from architecturally approved, far from infrastructure being in place. It's a long way to go. So.
Okay, so the vote, you're telling me the vote Monday or the next meeting.
I'm not a city commissioner.
Well, then I don't need people to tell me things that I don't
I'm
know.
just telling you my history and my understanding, so.
Well, then I'm.
You're welcome to contact me anytime, anyone. My card's on the front desk. At the Longwood Village too.
Thank you.
I'm good. I'm thinking you guys can say,
Tammy, let me ask Tammy a question. And Steve, Tammy?
Yes, sir.
And before you leave, did you get your little packet? Did you?
I have my packet.
Okay. What I would request that you or your husband or both of y'all be willing to sit and work with the architect who is.
I have nothing but, this is what I saw in Winter Garden, my, the craft shack, she was there. This would be perfect for this community, with the trees and
That's
everything.
called the Plant Street Market, and that's what we're trying to do on the fire station side, if I'm not mistaken.
That was just one little restaurant for fire station, this is a development.
It says a bar.
So, if you're,
Yeah, I think that's where the bar is gonna be.
Yeah, but I'm saying that where the police station is, if you do something in that, for my opinion, did you see the pictures?
No, I didn't, but.
This is not what I want, and you want, in my opinion, this is not what I want. This, I think, would be.
No, because that's.
could we give her the packet back there?
This?
She's got,
Okay.
she's got a packet.
I'm just saying.
Wait a minute.
Tammy, you got a packet?
I have a packet.
Let me see the packet, just so I want to make sure you see that. Okay. Now, this is a conceptual, this is not plans and specs, this is a conceptual. The ideal would be if you and your husband would have any interest in trying to work that impacts you.
Right.
On a local committee.
But I don't want to just impact me though. I want to be, this is a community. This is Longwood. I don't want to fight for just me. I want to fight for everybody who is impacted.
All I'm saying is, okay, if you don't feel comfortable, that's okay.
I will meet with the architect for sure. I'm not sure, but I am.
When is the next meeting? The real meeting?
It's not us.
Tonight, why I came was to find out what would be acceptable to you guys, okay? I've lived in this town 40 years, and I don't ever plan on leaving. I have the doll shop. And I don't disagree with a lot of what you said, but I think what needs to happen is we need to know what to say to the commission, okay? We don't like what he planned, so the developer, so maybe he needs to go and try again, or maybe the city needs to strike out on their own. The one thing I do know, we have to have a new police department, a new fire department, and if we don't accept this, then we're gonna have to come up with about $6 million. Either through bonds or raise taxes or whatever, but that has to happen, and that was one alternative to try to avoid paying taxes, but if that's what you want, okay, yeah.
So if we don't go with that developer, then you can't find somebody else? to do
No,
it?
probably not, okay? Now, one possibility is maybe the city could take it a step at a time. And like probably, I don't know, it's a toss-up between the police and the fire departments, but they could take it a step at a time and maybe build one, and when that's done, sell that land, take the money, build another one. It'd be a long, involved process. There wouldn't be, I think the beauty of this is what they're trying to do is generate more revenue for the district, okay?
Instead of taking from Peter to pay Paul.
Right, you know, but,
Part of the issue too, Judy, is that medical office that's the linchpin of the whole plan is not going to be available at a certain point.
right,
So-
the contract to purchase it runs out at the end of this month. And so,
Which which means, you know, that would change the whole, so that's probably part of the, yeah. So.
But I would encourage you guys to go to the meeting Monday night and tell them what you would like here. And maybe somehow we can come up with something you want to talk about. This is Brian Roy. He did these two beautiful buildings on Warren Avenue. After he got one done, it burned down, he had to redo it again.
If at first you don't succeed.
That's right.
It was a lightning strike.
Yeah.
My concern is, and the reason I came tonight is I think that we need to go forward with something. And you saw just a scenario that Judy just came out, and she says that if we do this in piecemeal, then the logical solution to that is okay, let's just do the police station this year. Then it makes sense for the commission to sell it to the highest bidder, right? To develop it. And it's not going to be in conformance with anything. It's not going to be in conformance with the other buildings. It's not going to be in conformance with the streets. They're going to try to get as much money as they can because that's their responsibility. That's what they're supposed to do. So if we don't go at this thing in a concerted effort and have our arms around something and have a plan for the future, we'll get what's left over, which is going to be the highest bidder at the time.
Right.
And it may be apartments, which is everybody's fear. It may be something else. We don't know. But if we get together and we can pool our passions, and what really was supposed to happen tonight, according to what I was told from both the commission and different people, is we were supposed to write down on a piece of paper, what are your concerns? Because if the developer doesn't know what your concerns are, they can't go back and they can't plan for it. Therefore, it's very important for us to funnel that and say, you have a vested interest. You say, I live on the street that's going to be affected by me. Sure. And you put that on a piece of paper and say, I'd really like to limit this to maybe the height of this building over here, 35 feet, 40 feet, whatever it is. Give me some landscaping, give me something so I don't lose my backyard. Put that down so that they can have that. And I talked to some of the other people that were Inside Out House. Oh, they're here, right here. I think, Tommy, he really wants to look at and say, I want to have something that signifies that this is the historic district. So all of the buildings should have a historic flavor. Okay, then put that down on a piece of paper so that the architects can take all of those ideas, and they're not going to be able to do all of them, but they're going to be able to do a lot of them. And so that if we put our ideas down, our concerns down, then we can go to the table and we can actually come up with something constructive. Because if we don't generate enough, and it's a love-hate thing, because if the city doesn't get enough revenue from whatever tax basis they're coming with, they're not going to be able to move. And so I think everybody's on board with the fact that that needs to take place. So there's a love-hate thing. We have to do enough commercial development to get the tax revenue high enough to pay for what we want to do is move some of the facilities. So I think if we can get that balance done.
I think it was just, as everybody's talking here, I think, and I like to stand and move my hands if you didn't notice. I think what everybody's going on, I'm auditory kinesthetic, you're so right, Brian, because, we all have an idea what we would like. Everybody wants a downtown Sanford, a Winter Garden, a St. Augustine in their backyard that generates a lot of revenue, especially when you're a business owner. You want beer and wine and food and shops and Lilly Pulitzer and, this shop, that shop. But we all can't have that. And, you have passionate people who don't want anything, and then we have other people that want a lot more. But I think our city didn't present that to our community like anything else is the challenge. If they sent out a mailer, which would cost thousands of dollars, and said, hey, if you want an idea, or you want your idea or your concerns or your love, your hate to be inputted, here's the email, write in to City Hall, here's the commissioners, here's their email address, or here's the developer, write down your likes, dislikes, wants, don't wants, and we'll try to come all together.
Oh, and I agree, and I think that it's difficult, but we have to get to a point where the commission needs to say, is the plan that they hired to have done, these people were paid to come in and do this, write a proposal and do this. Is this plan meeting enough objectives to where we can go to the next step? And so the vote that's gonna happen next Monday night is the first vote of two, that my understanding, and we have to say is it okay for us to move forward? Because if it didn't meet the objectives, they would cut them off at the knees and move them out. But if it does meet the objectives, then we're gonna bring all this community together and we're gonna be able to put in our likes or dislikes. But we can't do all of that before we have something to look at.
Exactly.
And something where everybody can say, and the commission says, wait a minute, we're paying for this. It meets our objectives. Now we're gonna put it back out and we're gonna let everybody work on it and we're gonna come back and we're gonna hug and kiss. We're gonna make this thing happen. But if we don't get to this point where the commission says we're gonna move forward, we haven't done anything and we cut it off at the knees and we're done. My concern is, I've been here for 19 years, is the community is slowly dying.
Yeah.
It's not the fact that it's gonna stay the same. The community is dying. It's slow, and as I told the commission last week, it's a pleasant death, but it's not helping us. It's not gonna be something that I can pass on to my kids because it's just gonna slowly go down. I have a lot of money invested in this community. I have a lot of love for this community, and I wanna see it excel. I don't wanna see it just fade away. And that's why I think that if we can get the commission to approve the fact that this plan gets us to the point where we can then, put our passion in and put our ideas in and come up with a balance, because it's not just the architecture, it's not just the landscape, it's the finances too. We have to have enough money to make it financially viable so that these facilities can actually move.
I think a lot of people don't understand how business works or how.
And so that's really what I want to
develop. I don't think a lot of people understand how urban development happens or rural development and how things get cost and paid for. So, that idea of 350 apartments is going to help offset the cost of the fire department, the police department, city hall. And I think if we all said, hey, would you like to see a new city hall, the fire department get located down 434, and this building that's for sale next to the basketball courts, the medical building, I think we'd all like to say, hey, that's a good start, yes, but I think the passion is the residents along Magnolia here, they're like, we got all these apartments over here, the private deal that happened all over here. Unfortunately, we're a society now that wants instantaneously, or I'm going to block you and hide you for 30 days.
Yeah. Well, that's the problem.
And nobody understands how business works.
And so I am a good representation of a struggling business in Central Florida. That's all I do. I'm an engineer, so I do things kind of methodically. But what I would like to see is exactly what everybody's been talking about here today is let's get us to the next step. Let's get us to the table. Because if we're gonna all infight and argue before we have an opportunity to put our ideas together, we're never gonna get anywhere. One of the ideas that Judy and I were talking about is wouldn't it be nice to have a hotel in one of these buildings so that we could have an event here and people could actually stay here instead of going to Lake Mary or Altamont. And so if we have that, and that was just an idea, and we talked to the developer about it, and they're like, these are the ideas, this is your community, these are the ideas that you need to come up with and you need to share with us so that we can incorporate them. So those are the types of things, that's why this is supposed to be a constructive meeting tonight, not just, I want to vent my opinion that I don't want it. It's like, tell us what your opinion is, write it down, and be prepared to work with people and get your ideas out there. I guarantee you the plan will never make everyone in this room happy. No, that's just not going to happen. But is it in the best interest of this community to work together and get it to where we're moving forward and we have something to be proud of? There's this building, all the other historic buildings in this area, they should be accentuated with what we're going to be doing here. That's what I want to see happen. And so if we need to get, and I encourage you to talk to your commissioners and say, we're not maybe 100% on board with all of this stuff, but I want to see something happen positive in this community. This is the first step to making this happen. Vote it, move it forward, and say, hey, you know, this is what I want to do for my community. And so that vote next Monday night, and then they have another one at the next commission, and you're going to learn. You come to the meetings, you can voice your opinions, but ultimately, you got to put your ideas down on paper, come to the table, and be very systematic and proactive about getting what you want. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So that's all I really think that was supposed to happen here, is a collection of ideas. And everybody has an opinion, but we don't have to yell, we don't have to scream, but we definitely need to get them down on paper. Frank, sorry to take so much time.
Thank you very much.
But that's really what I want to see happen.
You're way over your 3 minutes.
Just okay. All right, now I'm going to let you just talk in just a second. What we just experienced is what the objective was tonight. Plus, before we get too far in here, I'm a little disappointed that the architect didn't come, that she's probably smart enough that this wasn't the time. But I've already been told that if we want to, if we're willing to concentrate on one of these areas, there's 4 or 5 different options from the fire station to the front. If we would have the ability to put input, to do some input and work, like Lenny, who's I guess gone now, Lenny wants to take the lead on what's going to be the property in front of his hotel. And John Sunner, I don't know if y'all saw the handsome bald-headed man that came in and left. John Sunner has he has a very second strong position. He owns property with his law firm right next to the Bradley Mack house. And then Tom is here. He and the historical committee, they're in the process of wanting to make sure that these are preserved, but he's got a very strong vested interest in his input on what that thing looks like out in front of the hotel. That's one little project. If in the case of bringing up Tammy, who is very vocal, her group, if maybe we could get a little bit of work that would focus on that area where the police station is, just like we just heard from Brian, there may be a hotel complement of some rooms that could basically start right there in that building. So I would like to have a couple of 3 people work with me on trying to refine this assisted living. Judy and I have had a lot of discussion. I personally wanted the hotel and some retail. That was my dream, and of course, that's gone. So, but I'd still like to, I know what a quality assisted living is all about. It can be great for the community. It's got good employment. People come and visit. They'll spend money. The sons and daughters are coming in, picking their parents up if there's some reason to stay. This is not as, when I first heard it was just like, oh, no, please. I think there's some merit to working on that. Then the developer said, did he get a chance to see you today at all?
Yes, sir.
Okay. He wants to involve the businesses along I call it the strip, so that they can have input, because there's going to be office and retail right over there by the park, 2 different situations. He wanted to give those people a chance that they might want to have bring in a business or support that kind of a deal there. So all I'm saying is that was our objective. And I don't know, I guess we didn't get all of it, but I think that Brian brought it in and closed it. And here's really our representative for the merchants and the business part over there. And I'm going to tell you, we got a lot of respect for you, because you've gone in there and made things happen that I don't know who could have done it. So do you feel like that you could be a part of helping the Main Street part, or would you be willing to help us on the office and retail as time? I know you got a lot on your plate.
Whatever you guys need, I'd be happy to be involved.
Anybody else that would, because, okay, what part would you like to play as far as the area you might have some interest in?
The police station.
Okay. Anyone else on the police station that would help work with us on that? Okay, so Diana, if we could just get them to break it up and get their names and numbers that we have that are willing to do that. I know we got plenty on the retail. Now, you're not gonna get away, Carl, without helping us.
No, and again, you know, there's the people in town that want growth, and then there's people that don't want any growth. But again, for a community to survive, we need a tax base to go up. Like Matt said, he's on the historical commission. He's one of our, but he wasn't here today. But he has information that he knows, and you know, I understand. There's so many elements that cannot just be. You can't just snap your finger, and it can't be just a yes or a no. You know, my old neighbor Mike Kavanaugh, God rest his soul, and you know, he was on the architectural board long, and before anything could be designed or built, they had to approve it, you know, and then they did away with that, and you know, he was a great person for all that he did. So, you know, we've all been here a long time, we all have a mental picture, and you know, Tammy brought some pictures. Downtown Winter Garden is beautiful.
It is.
Has everybody been, you know?
I'm gonna move over there pretty quick.
Yeah, exactly. And it's got such a great community of, you know, a lot of mixed multi-businesses.
Took a lot of work.
And it did, and it didn't happen overnight, you know, and I think a lot of people think that, much like when the Publix went in, hey, that happened overnight. It doesn't happen.
I don't get that.
And so, I think we all need to come together and do the best we can. And I have a totally different opinion on the assisted living, because I market to them, and I hate to say it, everybody gets old, and families forget about those old people, kind of like our memory care unit serenades over here. Yes, it does bring jobs, and it does bring up a tax base, because they have to pay, but that's not the vision I would like or have, but that's my opinion. And that's why you want to get everybody together and say, hey, if we got 100 people that come together and say 70 says no and 30 says yes, well, hey, the majority rules.
Well, I think what they're saying is if you don't like that
Yeah.
concept, come up with one
Exactly.
that doesn't make money.
Exactly.
Which there's another industry that could make money that would be acceptable.
You just have to butt in. I just have to talk.
That's okay.
You just have to jump in.
No, I don't need that. I don't need that.
So.
No, it seems like the residents and maybe some of the business owners felt like they got gobsmacked and were left out of the process, for whether that's legitimate or not. That's how they feel.
I agree.
Right. So whether a more rich community outreach should have happened is a question. Maybe the city should have, but at the same time, developers don't not create the plan to present. The developer has to come up with a plan in order to present it to the public, for the public to decide whether it's doable or not, whether it's acceptable or not, and to have the community input. So, I mean, they don't come with a blank slate and say, okay, community, design this for me. But at the same time, they were feeling a little gobsmacked for whatever reason. Sure. So it seems like somehow maybe there should have been just a little bit more community outreach for that.
Communication,
yeah, somehow.
I'm going to side note on that, because I've lived in Longwood literally my entire life. Communication sucks. Sucks.
So maybe that's something we can
my
fix.
entire life, and I know nothing about the city.
Right. I got it.
But at the same time, you have to engage
Why are you
yourself.
still here?
Oh,
I
no,
just
exactly.
joined a historical fund.
No,
I didn't
well,
know
and
it
it's-
existed.
No, it's exactly. We're all on the same page in terms of how many people go to the commission meetings, how many people write into the city, how many, and
I heard
they're in
about
my
this project in January.
And
so
now
I was not blindsided.
Right, and now more than ever in history, how many people do not trust any politician right now? So our local politicians that represent us, you know, we have a disdain for them because there was no communication. Everybody got gobsmacked.
There was communication, you just didn't listen.
Exactly. Well, it's what gets presented.
Look, the commission meetings are on Facebook.
Correct.
You can tune in and listen to every
Sure.
commission meeting,
Of
okay?
course.
And if you don't know what's going on.
Then it's my fault.
It is.
Right. But it's not done.
Right.
No, so the whole point, this is the starting point
Right.
of everything. illustrative plan to address. You can't start with a blank page, and I think that's what everybody's missing. That's not the way development works.
It was very helpful at the meeting.
That's
You are
all.
so right. You are so right.
It was very helpful.
Would you be willing to work with us on it, we get you to work with the architect on it?
I'll put my name down. Put my name down.
Anybody else want to volunteer for one area or another?
Who do you have on from the Historic Society?
Okay, Tom.
Tom, are you on?
Tom, let Tom tell you a little bit. I'm gonna give it
Because
to
I
you.
know, I want to make sure that they have transition between their buildings and the adjacent buildings.
Yes. The input's what he's talking about, Tom. The idea, Tom and Pam have known about this since January, right?
But not long. We knew there was some RFPs out there.
Right.
But,
And they're very, very interested in what happens on the front door. We all are. And he's willing to take the time to help us through his element, I believe. You tell us, Tom.
Well, my concern is what these buildings look like. I mean, I've been in the Historic Society for 25 years. My wife and I have owned a business here at the inside-outside house, the cottage gift shop. And we love the Historic District, or we wouldn't stay here this long. And if something is put in here as a development, we want the buildings to fit the development, or to fit the area. The buildings, we don't want a Taco Bell stuck out here. We want it's a building, you know, if it's a coffee shop or whatever, great, but it needs to look Victorian, not aluminum walls and stuff, you know. We want it to fit the architecture that's already here, so it looks like it belongs. So, you know, we're not necessarily opposed to development, but it has to be the right kind of development. And that's what we are pushing for.
So you're not opposed to a Taco Bell, but it's got to be in a building that looks like
it's going to look like the Bradley Baker.
That's right. So I just want to clarify that.
No, you know,
it's got to look like an old Taco Bell.
The design of the building, the design of the buildings to me in this district are incredibly important, because what is built here is going to be here for
a long time.
A very long time. And the generations after us are going to have to live with what we allow to be built here. So to me, it's incredibly important that we design these buildings, whatever they are, whatever kind of businesses they end up being, to fit this district explicitly. And I'm kind of a stickler on that. Do we need an assisted living facility? I'm not a big fan of assisted living facility, to be honest with you. Plant Street Market, fantastic. We can put that down at the end of where the police station is, it'd be fabulous.
And that was Tammy's proposal, for
Right.
all the people that are down that way.
But here's the reality.
And Mark as well.
Here's the reality of, I don't know if anybody went to the commission meeting last Monday, the last one they had. But Ben Parrish said something that really stuck with me, and I don't know anything, I don't have any detailed knowledge of the budget of the city. But he made a point. He said, you know, the cost to run the city keep increasing every year. They have to do pay raises for employees. They need new fire trucks. They need this cost. Where is the money going to come from? It has to come from tax revenue, and it comes from development and redevelopment. And the city of Longwood is primarily built out. There's no land. There's no subdivisions going in anywhere because there's no land left. So the only way you can develop revenue is redevelopment and redeveloping these properties. So there's something to be said for what they're trying to do here. If we just sit and do nothing, you know, eventually as the costs eat the city up, the only way they can make any more money is to raise their taxes, increase the millage rate. And nobody wants that, but that's what we're facing. So they're looking for a better mousetrap. They need new buildings for the city. They don't have the money to go out and just do it. They don't have the money. So do we want our taxes raised, or do we want to look at another way that might work? And that's what they're trying to do here. So I think we should have an open mind, try to work with the city, try to work with the developer to see if we can get what we want in here, not to just stick something in here to make money. And whatever buildings they put in here have to, whatever businesses they are, they have to generate enough tax revenue. That's why they want to put apartments down there. Look at all the water hookups they're going to have in there. Look at all the impact fees of building that apartment. You know, you probably got $1 million worth of impact fees down there that's coming to the city. There's a lot of money at stake. It's a $120 million investment in this community. It's a lot of money. So these are things we need to think about as citizens here. Do we want our taxes to go up? Do we want to look for another way to do it? But the cost of running the city, Longwood's unique. It has its own fire department, has its own police department. You know, and a lot of some of the cities around town, this area, you know, have lost their fire department to the county because they couldn't afford to keep it up. Too expensive. They lost their police department, or they have a very small police department. And we're kind of heading in that direction because the costs begin to eat you up of running these things if you don't have new tax. You know, as long as you got a lot of land, there, builders are building new developments all over the place. You got a lot of tax revenue coming in, but we're not in that situation at all. So those are my thoughts. I'm willing to work with anybody to improve the district. I want it to be improved in the correct way, and I want the buildings to look good. And we'll have to work with the developer to try to get what we need here. And whether the numbers make sense to the city, that's something they got to figure out budget-wise.
Does anybody know the cost of what the TI group? Does anybody know the cost of this?
There's a budget, it's a concept budget that's available at some point. I haven't really seen all of it yet, but I do know this. If you don't have enough intensity or enough development, then it doesn't generate the tax base that the city requires that it needs to operate on.
That's right.
So if we go and put 2 tents and a boat out there by the police station, it's not going to work. You've got to put something at $60 or $70 million on that property, maybe 48, maybe it refines. But when you got a mixed use element, you've got several different ways you can work it. You've got office, you've got retail, you've got some apartments. They make them build a parking inside, a parking garage, so it contains the traffic in and out of there. Then they've already talked about, instead of having 4 stories looking down on the area that's under concern, they were going to drop it to a 3-story product and break that along there and do a lot of landscape that would be a compliment to do that area. Now, I'm amazed tonight, I've heard a lot of negatives about the fire station. The fire station, what Tammy brought us today, I challenge every one of y'all to go to the Crooked Can Brewery in Winter Garden and walk through and if you guys can find something wrong with that, come on back and I'll buy you dinner. Because this is what we were trying to get, something like this.
I think the objection was that it's next to a park, and they didn't feel that having that.
But we still have food trucks and liquor.
Yeah, they're not one of the parks.
And again, it's just a couple people.
I don't think that county drink right against the fire station.
No, it was the couple.
Everybody's got something.
And that's their right, because you know, it's like, hey, I'm trying to develop our younger neighborhood here. I don't want a beer, alcohol, kind of, and whether it's their faith, their community, their mental aspect of it, like, you know, it all comes into play, stuff like that. So.
No, I'd be in favor if we have hard liquor too.
Well, you and I are gonna meet a little bit.
Okay, next meeting at her house.
I have a question from online real quick. Some people are concerned because the Weston apartments that are built across the way were promised that there'd be commercial developments on the first floors, and then that never happened.
There was no market, they couldn't get the finance.
So that was their concern. They felt like that was duped by the developers, and would we get duped again?
This one goes in as a mixed use. It doesn't go in just as an apartment. In fact, now, based on what Brian is saying, they're even receptive to having a little element of some hotel or whatever short stay type product. So it gives you the best of everything. That's different from what these people were only able to get the financing for the one apartment complex. That's the difference. Anything else on there?
That's it.
Can I say something? I'll say this. I want to make sure. So I'm probably the newbie. My wife and I just moved into Longwood Plantation. In my view, the most important thing for this project, we need a change management person. Because the change has to happen. I have a master's in leadership. I'm not volunteering for this, by the way. Okay? Yeah. But it sounds like the change has to happen.
nobody's going to be happy. There's not a single business plan in the history of life that's never been changed on its inception. And I think that there's a lot of bad information, and I think it needs to be consolidated by somebody taking the lead on that. We talked about taking leads on these plots here. Somebody needs to take the lead on change management and be responsible for communicating the right information, because I feel like a lot of the people that left, and I appreciate their passion, but they didn't have the right information, and they're not getting the right information now, and because they were frustrated.
Right.
I'm frustrated. I didn't even know about this. Thankful for neighbors like Michelle and Carl and Tammy who are Make America Great Again. Your name? Serena. Right. So I mean, I actually was happy to be here, but there's change management. This is change. Nobody likes change, but it's the only thing constant in the world. We all know that quote. But we've got to have somebody to manage the change of this, to communicate the stuff the right way, the right information, so that we can have the right city that we all want. And we also, you were hitting on this, we have to be real with this, just the state of our country. Everybody's angry. Nobody trusts anybody. So we got to have somebody that leads that we can try to trust. And we also have to say, there's some stuff that is going to happen and I'm not going to like. Just accept that. And put your priorities in order and say, well, this is what I will not, and go ahead and politic for that. And that's how America works. That's how America is supposed to be great, because we're supposed to have a voice. Our leaders are supposed to be the voice of the people. But the reality is, whether it's communication of information or not, and I do agree, the communication so far, my 2 years here, I don't know what's going on. I feel like, I shouldn't be hearing that from a neighbor. I should be having a place to go where I can capture what my city's about. Because if I want to be an effective piece of the city, I have to have the right information. So to me, this is all. The problem is just it's a bunch of bad information or incorrect information, and nobody knows what to think or do with it.
Okay.
So
I think if you don't mind, because I think you finally touched. Give us your address first and last. I know it's King. I just
Mark. Oh boy. Okay. And if we can build a big venue for my Florida Flight to play basketball, pro basketball, that'd be great. 502 Freeman Street. I'm in Longwood.
This is actually the objective of what we were trying to do tonight. Most of us, if you get, there's some packets, and I want to make sure that anybody, did you get one of the full packets that shows that?
I saw it. I'd love to have
Who else needs one of those packets? Because I think Pam can hand those packets are very.
Here's a suggestion. Can we just get somebody to PDF that and put it on the city's website so we don't have to kill a bunch of trees?
Well, I think I'll be honest with you, I believe most of this is.
And you already got some.
Okay.
But
we've already killed the tree park.
Yeah.
Well, we should get, this should be in everybody's hand. It should be electronic. You should say on Facebook, hey, download the package.
We'll get all of it on the Longwood Historic Society website, so click like on the Longwood Historic Society.
The reason we want everybody's name and address so we can, we didn't get, I don't think we got their emails necessarily, but I do, this is the objective. Brian, this is what the objective was. And it's only quarter till, so we can wrap it up. And I feel if we'll follow.
Go to Julie's house for some whiskey.
Come on over. Yeah, that's where we start.
This is what Longwood needs, is this kind, and your spirit about unity, man, do we need that. And see, that's kind of what, if you split us and break us up, I'm gonna tell you, I want us to do something that'll make this place be something to be proud of.
I think we all do.
And it's a beautiful setting, but there's only a few parcels that are actually going to make or break the deal. And if the fire station has a little house.
Hey y'all, I'm gonna have to wrap up the broadcast here. My phone battery is about to die, and I want to make sure I finish this up so that it's available on demand later. Thank you all for who were able to join us tonight, and definitely encourage everybody to take part of the community, get the information, and then make your voice heard. Good night from Longwood.